Muji, are you happy if I just kick straight in?
Straight ahead.
Uh,
Everything as it flows.
so the podcast, and probably more importantly, just my whole life is about, I guess, human potential, more specifically, just a, a, a seeking of finding out the truth about me and all of this and every part of it. And I think, to give you a bit of background before we kick in, for some reason, I felt like that formulated itself in a search of something, and on the achievement of the something, it revealed itself to be not that hugely. And I feel like that path was equal parts running away from a deep ingrained fear, or a deeply felt presence of fear, and the other part, a passion towards trying to achieve something. When the achievement happened, it felt like that was empty, which left me with the fear. And at some point, I think that got to a point where there was a turning to face it. And then something very different has opened up. And you amazingly, aside from an introduction to Buddhism and the discovery of a small Buddhism book in a hotel room I was staying in next to my bed at a very opportune time, the first thing I came across was yourself and all the amazing work you've been doing. And thankfully, the internet allowed me to access that. And it had a remarkable impact upon me at that time in my life. And I'd love to find out from you, she's even initially, how do you see what it is that you do in your day to day? You said you've been tired running around. What is it that running around is essentially?
Well, we can leave the running around aside because that's just ongoing life unfolding like that. No? So we don't talk about running around. But I believe your question is like what really my privilege, I would say, is to have the opportunity to share with people who are on a deep quest to find out what is real, not just from a mental place, but something that is beyond the limitations of like what I call personhood, no? Or the grip of the psychological identity that we are brought up with, and most people are not even aware of it in terms of the way I'm speaking about it. But I don't go out looking for them, for people. Somehow, by the grace of internet and so on, we began to share that it was possible to sit and have dialogues about that, and not just intellectual dialogues, but dialogues, exploratory dialogues, whereby people began to follow some simple guidance and to experience for themselves rather than merely to listen and to feel, oh, that feels good, or not just a kind of conceptual knowledge, but the direct experience. And over the years, it became more and more, I would say, direct. Another twist happened, maybe a couple of months ago, where it just took a deeper turn for much more direct exploring in this way. And so each one could, in their own way, listen to what was being shared. I also was able to put it, there was always this yearning to make things as simple as possible. Because myself also, with too many things said and too much of this, I get lost. Like this, I would not be able to keep up or to apply many of the wonderful things that people may say. So it had to become really something that's very immediate and accessible to all kinds of people coming from different directions also. I didn't set out to say, oh, I must try and meet this person, that person. I encountered people from different walks of life, different also religious perspectives and practices, and found that there was a common ground that was beyond sometimes the limitations of what's presented as a religion, a place where it's, I would call it the exploration into beingness rather than into any kind of do's and don'ts too strongly, you know. So that has been really the the most effective, I feel, because I also check in. I have the opportunity also that we are living in a group, in a sort of community, you can call it that. The emphasis is not so much on community, but more that people come here and in a way that they could persist in a regular way to keep looking rather than simply come, have an experience, and run away. I've found that that doesn't stay with them, and people have had wonderful experiences, but then after a while, somehow, again, they're overtaken somehow. It appears like that by the day-to-day living or old patterns and the force of conditioning and so on gets them back into the old state. So I have the good opportunity to be with some beings now, or sometimes over years, not because it necessarily take years, but because some having found, that transition, you can say, from the place of what I call from person to presence, continue to just deepen in that on some level like that. So that's the very heart of what to your question. You know, of course there are other things that come off that, but this is at the very core of what we are sharing. You know.
Yeah, that it's amazing. My existence, I think, has certainly been or was so physical, so entrenched in all that solid physical stuff. Even if you said, explain yourself or describe yourself to me, all I could give you was everything physical that I'd achieved or that I could see. I'd describe my body, I'll give you my dreams about what I was going to achieve. It would just be numbers, statistics, whatever I could show you or prove to you. I don't think there was any possible way that I could have, had any concept there was any other reality to who I was apart from what I was experiencing then. That whole kind of duality thing, me and the world. It's amazing to even think, I could have conceived of anything more than that. And I think the thing that made me that way was this sense of fear. And it's kind of bizarre, but without that sense of fear, there's no other way I can see personally that I could come to that other opportunity. And I think this is because that fear, it wasn't physical. It had something deeper to it. And in realizing this, and this is totally brand new to me as I'm talking about it now, I think I came to understand that I couldn't face that fear if I stayed as the physical me against the fear. And so that transformation just happened, I guess. Something happened in me to be, I don't know, like slightly more subtly aware. Maybe the concept of being a witness to what's happening rather than being lost in it. Because before, that awareness was just focus. Are you aware of this? Yeah, because I'm looking at it. There was no other concept of awareness either. It's so fascinating. The thing I find so challenging though is that readiness in people. Can that readiness be accelerated?
Yes, it's not a conscious readiness necessarily. There's some people who may present themselves, look, I'm really here, and like somebody may come, someone came and said, look, Mooji, look, I'm ready. They've been listening to satsang. Says, I'm ready now. I said, you are already. So, what you mean? No, what you are searching for, you are this already. Now, those are the words. That's not the experience. Now to guide you into the experience of that. And first of all, I'd put forward that it is extremely simple. It is simple because the realization of the self is not a creative process. It's not something I'm going to ask you, listen, imagine or visualize. That is not at all important right now. All that people need to realize is that, well, first of all, even to say you're not the person you think you are, you are not what you've been brought up to believe you are. You are really not that. Of course, that's not enough because we have a very strong, very profound sense of an identity that I am this body and I am this someone living in this body. And that is enough for most people. Well, it's not enough, but not knowing that there's an option beyond this, it has to be enough. And you make do with whatever you can to make the best of your life based upon this psychological, personal conviction and identity. And this is it. I have no judgment against it, because when the time comes, and how can I put this? For some people, it's not about how much effort. It's not about the person's effort only. We cannot say exactly why it may be it may be triggered by a bereavement, maybe a loss of a job, breaking up of a relationship, or a book you've read, or a movie you've watched. Something becomes the turning of the handle to something. And you find, in your case, you speak about this intense fear, and then somehow you could not meet that in a sufficient way on the basis of the identity you had always defined as yourself. So something beyond your capacity as a person came in to somehow introduce itself within of something that's beyond words. It's a beyond word experience. It's not definable. So from the human expression of consciousness, once things that are graspable intellectually or physiological, physically, that's the way that we comprehend things. So how does one go about to, well, I say I don't go looking for people. I'm not a street preacher or something like that. Either now, by the facility of internet and so on, people have been listening to the talks and they may resonate with something. And I say, you don't have to read a lot of books and have a lot of knowledge or even listen to a lot of satsangs. It has to be that something maybe touches some core place in you, and it sets up an appetite, a yearning to find out what this is or to come more fully into that. That's already the opportunities awakening inside you. And I would say to trust that, because the intellectual, the personal side of it wants to the kind of know how to aspect of that. And that also plays its own part for some time. But to actually move more deeply into it, I can't put it down to just a technique. Now, over the years, I came to present a simple guidance, which I call the Invitation to Freedom. I don't know if you read this thing. It's a very simple, it's not just a book, it's actually a guidance that is very freely available on the internet, where anyone who has an openness and maybe a yearning for an inquisitiveness, an urge to find, listen, and it just guides you beyond the forest of all these mental possibilities to take you directly. It doesn't take you anywhere, actually. It doesn't take you anywhere. It actually just reveals that which is fundamentally your nature, you see, and the most worthy of recognizing for a human being, beyond the kind of mental struggles and the projections and the fantasies and all of these type of things.
With each revelation, there seems to be this, as you said, this need to know how, but also this need to know where it's going, and this hurry about when it's going to happen. And that's been really interesting. That I know for so much of my path has been led by this idea that this joy is all going to come as a result of all this effort and all this suffering and all this whatever it is and this sacrifice. And then, like you said, this is already here, and in the experience I can tell it's already, even in the zone sporting experience, there is that complete surrender. And yet there is probably for me one of the most difficult and subtle kind of challenges is that it still becomes, yes, it's already here, but I'm going to get it somewhere else. I'm going to find my way to it. And this is all part of that journey. And it feels to me like a very deep space where there's a little hook there that it's harder to reveal, where everything is still the person trying to be free rather than the freedom revealing itself underneath the personhood, as you will. And it's fascinating that there still feels that I'm going to be better off because of this, if you know what I mean. Better off in terms of I'll still be here as I am living this life, but I'll be the one that people will be able to see as a new champion, but of something else almost.
Yeah, thank you for that kind of honesty, because what happened is, and you're right also, it is still the personal construct that's trying to negotiate a kind of a deal, like, or a reassurance that, yes, I'm doing all things right when I get it, because that could be some underlying fear, again, that I don't want to wake up and be a stone Buddha, or wake up and just really not being able to carry on with my life and these type of things. That's a very understandable human concern, no? But actually, first of all, I don't feel there's anyone who woke up and felt they've made a mistake. It's just not possible. The life that you are experiencing on the basis of personhood, however good it can get, cannot compare to that which you are. Now, I don't want to set up a picture about that, because it's not about how the picture will look. It's about the quality of the inner the reality of your inner being, which is already here, somehow eclipsed by a psychological identity that we've been taught we are. It's a psychological identity is also a mode of consciousness, but by itself, it cannot do much here. You see, maybe you may say it's a call to kind of surrender, but even that can feel very fearful. Someone asked one time in one of my talks, he said, you use the word awareness or consciousness a lot, but for us, we don't know what that is. Could you give us a kind of explain or give us an example what you mean by that? And what came was something very simple, I said, if I was doing this, you maybe see me do this. If I'm doing this with my hand, okay, I'm aware of it. Is my awareness doing this? And he could say, no. Okay, what about if I change and start to do this and do like this? Is my awareness acting this? He said, no, it's not awareness acting anything. The awareness is not doing anything at all. I said, that awareness is constantly, is it personal? I said, no, it's not personal. So in simple exercises or pointing out things like that, again, it helps to make that shift from the doership, the I am going to do something and it's going to result in that. And when I get that, my life is going to go more like this, and this kind of, speculating about what it might be. These are, comes out of the conditioned identity, no? Which you are going to come to see is more a play appearing on a screen that's being watched already from, even right now, the self that I'm speaking is right here. It's as though there's a kind of the dual functioning. One is the dynamic self-portrait, acting and saying, I want to do this, and yeah, but what's it like, and this. And behind this is that still being. And again, we are still in the realm of explaining here. And I wanted to ask you, are we at this moment talking for the sake of your listeners or really for you?
Yeah, this is always about me.
Okay, that is very good.
It's always about me. I cannot, to be honest, the thing is, it doesn't interest me to talk about it.
Yes.
It's only interesting to me in terms of.
Let's use this.
Yeah. Yeah,
opportunity
exactly,
then,
exactly.
because that's what drew me to you, you know?
Yeah, no. Well,
Mm.
it's exactly that. I think for me, it's maybe whilst so involved in that, as you say, personhood, the concept of peace feels a bit like the barren, deserted
Yeah.
space of almost death. It's almost, but then I have moments in my experience often of absolute aliveness without anything to
Well,
be,
this
anywhere
is
to
the
go.
paradox. This is the paradox because in the way that we have been educated and conditioned, not by anybody specifically, just by life in its dynamic expression, the person is always on the hunt for the next experience and the next thing that was going to be. Because everything in its world, nothing is stable. There's no such thing as a permanent person. It's always the present range of thoughts and so on is changing, and like okay, and there's a weakness to this change of thought, but we have not yet consciously aware that you are at the same time have the capacity to witness things. To the person, to the personal mindset, the idea of peace is like a sort of blankness sometimes, like a desert of peace, where life in its dynamic beauty is exchanged for some dead peace, just peace, like this. So this is the we call the Maya play. Maya meaning the play of the delusion in some way, delusion in some way. But it's introducing inside you that there are moments you have experienced of great peace, which is very different from the fear idea about peace. That it's that you're paralyzed with peace. It's not at all like that. And actually, peace does not require that the outer world is still. Peace does not have any requirement. I mean, the peace or the beingness generates and portrays all this dynamic life and is at the very core of it and has no requirement for it to be this way or that way. All the trouble comes from the psychological identity and all of its idiosyncrasies, its fears, its attachments, its the need to fulfill its projections, which is never satisfied with, except for moments like that. So I'm happy when we can just put it on the table and say, well, these things are like this, and it plays like that. And I'm encouraging to say, well, let's keep looking. Tell me what you want to look. Let's look at that. And
Yeah, I definitely feel that um, there's this constant difference between awareness has got a tinge or is tinged and therefore corrupted by analysis. So in that space of sitting, I love the silence. I know I'm drawn towards the solitude and the peace and the relaxation compared to where I've been in my life. That it's so enlivening. It's such a beautiful thing. But in sitting deeply and just in that witnessing space, and it's not an obvious analysis or evaluation of my thoughts. Am I doing it well? Am I not? It's not as obvious as that. But I feel like it's something holding me back on the precipice of dropping deeper, that's saying
maybe you feel that you have to make a leap. Sometimes people think, I just have to take that leap and I don't know what's on the other side or something. But this is all these things are on the side of the person, of the psychological identity, and not for the state itself. That which really is not going anywhere. It's not waiting to catch the person or something like that. It is here. Actually, the one in trouble is really the person. Doesn't realize it like that. At some point, you begin to see the in a sense to feel the burden of personhood actually, but only as you are crossing back into your deeper self, which is here also now. So those questions are perfectly understandable. We have heard them hundreds of times. People say, but they want to find, is it safe? Is it safe? Like, I mean, I see you in the water, but, is it safe to be in, like this? And I say, all these doubts are for the person, for the psychological identity, and not for yourself, you see?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, that fear I spoke about, which through my formative years was so present, like another person. It was that sort of evident. And I think
It was a drive also.
Oh,
It was a
hugely,
drive.
yes.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to speak to you about that. But the power of it and the way that I formulated myself against it meant that I did have this kind of, I had to become a bit of a fixer, a perfectionist, a bit of a problem solver, and also in some ways a bit of a savior and a martyr. All
Yes.
of these different things coming about my activity, and a lot of what I was seeing around me as well informed that. But so my whole life has become about keeping things away, fixing things, sorting. So if a thought comes out, the answer to get rid of it has always been to solve it. And the of recent last 10 years for me, it's been huge to sit in that space of discomfort when every part of you is urging to go and resolve this, instead of sitting, as you said, is it safe? Is it safe to sit in these moments where your whole reality is trying to tell you you've got to run, but that's the leap, not that I have taken, but that's maybe the willingness that has allowed me to sit still, as opposed to the drive.
Rather than working it out, you can just look at it. You see, there's another way. Sometimes we feel we have to kind of work out and negotiate the safe path, the middle path, whatever it may be, you see. But there's a beautiful and simple way of just being, even you're beginning to do that, just being aware of this, being aware that since you wake up in the morning, the active mind and the active consciousness, the dynamic consciousness is just at it, is playing, no? And in front of us and within something which itself is not moving about. Just as the example I was giving about this, if the life outside and the life in your head is doing this, okay, is your awareness doing that? And you say, well, no. And is your awareness trying to control anything? No, it's not. And what is this? You can talk about this, but what is the awareness like? What is the awareness of it like?
Yeah, it just is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it requiring that you stop the hands to be more present as awareness?
No, of course not. No.
No. So these are just simple pointers, actually, because the mind has got a lot of things. As a matter of fact, the psychological mind is very, very strong at sustaining its posture, feeling threatened by change. Actually, the psychological mind doesn't exist. What I mean, doesn't exist, meaning that it's very situational, is very much supported by conditioning, and the momentum of conditioning and all kinds of things is playing there. And the person, so-called person, is a part of that play. What's going to happen to me if I do this and I make a mistake, like we can't do this, and all these kind of negotiations, which, as a matter of fact, it seems as though I've got to get this right before I can feel completely to let go into it. This one who feels it has to do that also is not true. The self, yourself, the true self itself, is, again, let's go back to that example of this and this. Okay? Now, this is not frozen. It's not like, whoa, I better not move because I won't be able to gauge what's happening with the hand. It's not in the same dimension. And yet, the movement of life, the action, interaction, reactions are happening. And they are perceived in the most simple way, because the self cannot be threatened. The self has no ambition. Now, these may sound like really not good words to the person who has a lot of ambition and has a lot of things to protect against and a lot of places to get to be better. And that energy creates a lot of restlessness for the soul. You know? It's like always trying to get to the best, with whatever that may mean. But it is a stressful life. And you will see that because only as you're leaving one state and going to a higher state can you look back and evaluate the state you were in. Only as and this is why I say, listen, it's not like you're being presented with a bargain, either this or this, okay? Because the supreme consciousness has no conflict with the dynamic expression. You see, as a matter of fact, as you awaken to your true nature, you're a much better citizen. Citizen is a bit of a strong word. You are much better with life. Now, others who are in the same psychological space as you are used to before may feel a bit threatened by you. You say, "Wow, what's wrong? Why are you so calm? And you should be getting up and going." And you say, "No, no, all is good right now. All is good." And because the other positions of psychological states, they will feel itself a little bit initially threatened by that. But it's not a real threat. It's actually a concern, and it's almost as though there's a light put on something that's uneasy. But when you get to face it, actually, your beingness is, or your soul is longing to exhale into its own root, you know. But the mind is like keeping that. Whoa, we can't. We got to keep this going. And I am going to put it another way. People are afraid sometimes, the psychological identity is afraid of this enlightenment, as though it's going to be bang and you're suddenly different. Okay? So this is why people sometimes go into satsang for so long, because some still, after a while, still retaining some attachment to this personal. Someone said in satsang just recently, she said, I can see why this is going on for so long, because my mind is looking for it still has its own idea of a technique to be really happy. Yeah. You understand? It's like my mind is saying, listen, I'm on the way to getting it there to be really happy. And I see that this is keeping me on the outside of myself. Another guy came, he was a practicing Buddhist, he told me he's practicing Buddhist, and he was asking some questions like this. And I sat with him, we had a cup of tea together, and we went through this looking, a very semi-urgent on his part, looking like this, and then sometimes it gets really hot, came in, and eventually came through and into this pure place of seeing. Then the mind came back. The mind says, you know what? I see what you're speaking. I see it. I feel it. I can't disagree. But I've got to realize it through my Buddhist practice. I said, oh, what you saying? There's the Buddhist truth and a Christian truth. It's consciousness. You are here. So if we, in some way, keep feeding that psychological identity, because of fear quite often, it will create many escapes of, whoa, even you come, you have let's say, the taste of this peace. The mind is saying, yeah, but you need to be careful, because there's a lot of ways that we listen to that noise, the ongoing noise of it. But for me, it is nothing at all. It is nothing. Because the states that the mind come to, like this, you can't remember them. When they pass, they're gone. It's like, it's just in that moment, they sabotage your opportunity, and then we just roll.
I think that's the answer always is this. It always is this. And no matter what I throw up, the answer is always in this sort of surrender. And I'm aware of the spiky buts that I come up with. Yeah, I know, but
there's something more simple than surrender. Because surrender is what your fear is using.
Okay, in order
to just postpone. It's like surrender is like a big act, It's like, okay, it's like,
yeah.
Once you do that, you're in now. You're in for the full haul. So I would put it that for many people, they back away because of this. Well, I'm not ready yet, man. Those things, this kind of way. It's not about surrender. It's actually beginning to really look and to get rid of this idea that enlightenment is a big bang for a minute. Because it need not be like that. For some rare beings, it might be like that. Because their entire being as being in preparation to be able to handle that, to actually move in that. For most people, as like it says in the Bible, taste and see that the Lord is good. Meaning that, acquire the taste of it. And then you see that it's not that, listen, why is life asking me to hand over my sweeties? Because, I don't know what I'm going to get back. So that is being fed by the fearful mind, just I want to be really, really safe before we're going to sign that deal. It's not a deal.
Yeah, it is powerful.
You're not going to become somebody else. You're just
No.
unbecoming what you're not, actually.
But it's bizarre because I'm aware that and not to use words about myself, maybe for someone else, but my own experience about my own evolution, looking back at how I can see the immense I guess evolution that's taken place through me now, where I've been. It's worlds apart, and it's beautiful, and that's taken place at this beautiful speed that was always meant to be, and yet still ahead, despite knowing
Johnny,
that and seeing that, you still have that idea of what's coming.
Johnny, you're still on the run.
Explain to me.
Because the opportunity for me, seeing you, full love and everything, is that there is in you an urge, a burning to rest in your own being, to be at rest in your being. And here I feel totally universal consciousness supports this. It's a play in some way, but what I'd call the more the psychological, intellectual thing, and is trying to understand it, to kind of, but if I do this and negotiate, no? So sometimes I would say, supposing you only had these, 10 minutes to find it, how would you go about it then? Because right now, I mean, my attitude is really to just, but it cannot work like I want to do something with you. It's just there come. As a matter of fact, I would like to tell you that I wanted to say, look, I would like to invite you to come here for a little bit, just to spend some time together here in these kind of to look together. But I don't want to put it off for that time. It's just there's something here, and because what you're searching for is right there, it's right here, what the search is, and we are never going to get there by debating it here. We say we know this and know that and that, and it's true. We get somewhere with it. You maybe to nullify the strength of the seeming fear and to try to cancel out the danger or something. I don't know what it is, because it's actually all the time. It's only you. You're not going to become somebody else. When sometimes people say, "Wow, you really changed," and whatever, it is only that you have changed back into yourself. You're not become something else, and so it's like it's not that we you have to do something to become what you are. Maybe there's something to see to stop becoming what you're not. You see what I'm saying? Of course, our personality stuff is something we have to experience it. We have all got to experience certain display, and perhaps for many people to just get totally fed up and frustrated that all the techniques are not working. Sometimes it's like that also. But like what I sense from you is that you are so natural, and also the earnestness and the sincerity is there. And say, but this thing, whatever, to get a better look at this and to make better understanding and so on, I would just, if I were to say to you, like, this moment is really what you have, not the clock is ticking, but just this is a moment to look. Where would we start from? I mean, because all these rationalized things, you're going to transcend that. You're going to leave. That's going to just drop away because you don't need it actually. Because the thing, it's not that you're building up stuff for there. It's more that you're looking and saying, okay, actually, you don't need this thing. You don't need that thing. Did you ever listen to the Invitation to Freedom?
I've listened to some. I've listened to a lot of things on your channel. I'm not sure if I listened to that specific one.
Can I do a little exercise with you now?
Please
just for a
do.
couple
Yeah.
of minutes.
I'll tell you afterwards if this is the one I've heard. But yeah, definitely I'm in.
Yeah. Because what happened is something we do. Many people listen to this, and some quite regularly. So it's not like you're going to get clouted or something. So you listen, and it's just a guidance. Like if someone had come to me and said, someone recommended that I could talk to you because I just got to just get out of this kind of head noise and stuff. And I like to really feel to be able to be what I really am, whatever that may mean. And they say that maybe you can help me a little bit. I said, well, yeah, we can take a look, Just it's a very simple thing where I would say, okay, supposing if we only had a short time and I say, okay, listen, can we spend a little time together? You don't mention anything about past for a moment because it's just memories, like we're not going to bring and talk about the past, but what's happened, where you grew up, what kind of culture, what kind of conditioning and so on. So you don't need it for this if you're searching for this. And about the future, if you, for just for the duration of just this little time we have, let's not mention about future, like how we'd like to see the world in another few years or how you'd like to be if you were awake and this kind of stuff. So from the past on this side, we say, okay, we leave this. Don't bring up anything from the past, just for a few moments. And about the future, we don't go there for now. So what we're left with is like the present moment, or say like this, no? So, and in the present moment, we're not going to describe like what this is like and, what I would like, like this, no? So on one side, we say, from the past, we won't bring up anything. It's not relevant to what you say you would like to see from this place in your heart. And from future, also, don't include anything from here. And from the present time, don't bring anything into like what you would like or, like, okay, so what's next or, like this, any kind of futuristic thoughts. Okay, so just leave everything alone as though for a moment you would allow like there's a space here and just all things from past and future can just float away just for a moment. But you're here, like all those thoughts if they were just left aside. So empty, 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 empty. So you're not required, At the end of our little talk, you can have them all back. It doesn't matter because I'm not destroying anything. I was saying just suspend your engagement with past and with future and just be here in the present moment. No? Okay? No past, no time of past, nothing about future. And present, don't hold on to any identity for a moment. It's okay like this? Okay. If all these things are taken out, all the information, the memory, just left aside for a moment, you're still here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So whatever it is that is here, And I say, don't hold on to an image of yourself. Something is here. Something is here. That if everything could be taken out, this cannot be taken out. You're aware of that. Mhm. So all that I'm going to do is just to ask you a few simple questions, yes or no responses, just about this. So past is left aside, don't engage. Future is left aside, don't engage. Present moment, don't be thinking about what's next or what's past. Just empty of that. So all these things are removed, taken out, suspended just for a moment, and we can pick them up after in a few moments. That which is, which cannot be taken out or put back, doesn't belong to that, okay? I just want to ask you a little bit about this, whatever this is. Whatever is remaining now, does it have any form at all?
No.
Does it have any form? It's got a shape?
No.
No, no, no. Okay. Has it got any sort of like, could someone take a photograph of it, whatever is here? Does it have
No.
any? No. Is there a boundary beyond which it does not exist anymore? Some border?
No.
No. That's amazing. Could you say that it is something like an emotion or anything? Is it an emotion?
No.
No, not emotion. Or mood?
No.
No, it's good. May I ask you, can it fade? Can it fade like maybe later on today it would just fade and just disappear? Can it in itself fade?
No.
No, it cannot fade. Cannot fade. Are there any judgments in it?
No.
Does it have anything like a quality of time, like past, present, future about it?
No.
No. Can it be owned by one group of people and not by another? Can it be used in some way?
No.
No. That's very good. Could you say of it that it has a beginning or end?
No beginning.
No beginning.
No end.
Here's an interesting one. Can you say that it was born or created, and can it die or be destroyed?
No.
No. Can in itself, can it be sick, become sick,
No.
depressed?
No. It's untouchable. So
Yes.
that's
Yes. So, for instance, it cannot become anxious in itself.
no.
No. Okay. Can it be that you are imagining this?
No.
No. Okay. Can it be hypnotized?
No.
No. Can the mind itself exist independent of it. Remembering earlier you say that it's no boundary. There's no, is there anywhere where it is not?
No.
No.
It does feel like there's an awareness of mind.
Yes.
Very clear.
Yeah.
Operating not independently, but there seems to be an ability to be much more aware of it.
Yes. Yeah. So there's awareness of mind and mind functioning arising in it.
Yeah.
Can it itself be personal?
No.
No. So let's just go over this again. It's not a form. You cannot make a photograph of it. It cannot fade. You say no. Is there a boundary beyond which it is not? You say no about it. Say, does it have a beginning or an end? You say it has no beginning, there's no end. Was it born or can it die? You say no, it cannot be born or die. I said, is it a mood? You say no, it's not a mood. Can it be lost?
No.
I say, can anything, say the mind, can mind exist independent of it, like apart from it spatially? You say, no, mind can be perceived in it. Is it any effort?
No, there's no effort.
There's no effort. Say, is there any judgment? You say there's no judgment there. Now, if I ask now, how far away is it from here, from you? How many what journey, do you need to take a journey to be there, whatever it is?
No, definitely not.
No. So that's it for the moment. If all these things you're saying and you're not spending time, do you need to think about it?
No.
No. So you don't think about it. It was not born, cannot die, cannot be possessed, cannot be hypnotized, cannot be owned by one group. There's no judgment. It cannot be sick or depressed. Your response very, very simple. And I ask you, how far is it away from you? And you say no distance. Then I could only, tell me if I'm wrong to conclude that it can only be what you are.
Yeah.
Just now?
No. Like it hasn't been created.
Yes.
It's not perishing. It's not dying.
Yes. Are you imagining this?
No, it's not. It's not mind activity.
So would I be wrong in a deduction that says, well, what you're sharing is just what you are, timelessly? Is this a philosophy?
No, it's not a belief or an idea.
Mm-hmm. It's very good. So that's it, simple exercise. And as I said before, all the things you shared, all the things that you said, well, you leave aside, you can pick them up again. And yeah.
It's incredibly I've not. I mean, I'm not just saying this because we're talking, but it's been very rare I've been able to be aware of mind without losing the awareness of mind as soon as it begins, almost.
Yes.
But right then, my wife and daughter actually came home. They've come through the door, they're walking in, and I can hear what they're saying. And I hear the car pull up, but I'm still here. And that's quite bizarre for me.
Yeah.
Because normally that'll lead me away straight away, or even I'm not even sure I've been fully aware in that space. It's almost so minuscule, but there's a depth to it. Also, there's a recognition, even just when we went into that exercise, there's a deeper recognition of just that space we're in there doesn't want anything.
Yes.
Doesn't need anything. And I think that's powerful for me to realize that there's so much of this journey, or this idea of this journey, is because of I want something out of it.
Yes.
I want
Now,
something out of everything in
okay.
terms of that personhood side.
Yes. So
And yet then sat there, there isn't a leaning.
yeah. So is that saying this?
No, I know this is me, the person. When I say that I'm talking about the smaller clothed
Yes.
I. I know I'm speaking about the veiled I from that perspective.
Mhm.
And even
And
like
what
you
is
said,
watching the veiled eye?
the presence of what we're talking about. But it's interesting because even me talking to you now about this wants something. As soon as I open my mouth, I'm in that space almost of that want.
Does it as make a compromise on this?
No.
So basically, this is the kind of exploration I make with people to say, is it over?
No, of course not.
No.
There feels to be, when just to get you to explain one more time, is that the experience of being active in your lifestyle and your movement and everything, being sat with that, you're talking about, this becomes a very dynamic opportunity as well, everywhere. And when it's not there, how do you explain what's happening? Just purely there's an investment back into the personhood. Is that what's happening?
Can this that we are just looking, actually you're not looking at it, actually looking from it. That's why you didn't spend time thinking or exploring, or it wasn't in the next room or something you had to go, is within your own self, because it wasn't produced by thought. It was not an institutional knowledge. It was just here. It was here. There was no gap. When you say now, you see, we say it's over, then boom, the person kicks in, and which is fine. I don't have trouble with the person kicks in. Now I want to see if the person is an exchange for this or not.
Yeah. And this being the comment that I think is really powerful for me, is that the ongoing nature of challenge is simply a challenge to the seeing, not to the person to overcome, but actually it's a challenge of whether this is coming from that space, or whether, essentially just how established are you in that space?
What can affect that in a way? What can distract that? You see, this is the whole mystery in a way, the kind of paradox, the kind of duality of self as me and you having a talk, and this. And so what happened in what you may call a sadhana, which is the exercise of looking, because very quickly, like a reflex, is that we're back into the shape of the person and so on. And actually, let's just call it functioning. There's a functioning self, no? And the label of the functioning is the person, the sense of the person. I got this and that and that. That can still happen. This does not have a conflict with that. In fact, this is not erased or even superimposed by that, actually. But somehow the exercise for most people is to keep looking and seeing whatever problems the mind might pose is only an idea in consciousness. It has no power. It can only suggest. Then it has to connect with the identity. When it connects with the identity, then you can have this thing. If you keep observing, just looking, it doesn't make you like, you don't have to be sitting on your hands. You see, you're simply not just looking out at the world, but looking at the world in a sense within the limitless space of yourself, so to speak. It will get right with sitting with this, because there's some force that's going to come to try and just eclipse this. It's just, that's how the life has worked. It's like something, just like put it in the background. That's why I ask you, can it be a background? Can it be limited to background and foreground? You see, but however, because of the reflex of personal identity, that tend to go forward, and that is supported by something, maybe like this. But the more you sit back here and keep looking at these things, you see that against this or within this, they have no authority in themselves. And gradually you come to see that here, everything works fine. It's not that without the person taking care of things, things don't get taken care of. As a matter of fact, things get less taken care of in the proper way from the personal limited perspective. So the person is a choice we have.
That was going to be my question. Maybe I'm just very aware of your incredible time you've been offering out. The big question I was going to ask was, how do you, throughout your journey, because in the whatever space that I felt at least a kind of, I don't know what word to use now, but at least a kind of softening in me. It's done nothing to my efficient nature of how I live my life, and my decision making seems to have gone in a direction of more and more expansion, more opportunity. I seem to be opening up my life with my decisions through a more effortless, I guess, approach or energy to it. Is that, I guess, would be another one of those things, is think, now that I'm not tense and I'm not fully in the personhood, like you said, things aren't going to get done. Is there an element here in terms of people performing their roles in life where this is moving towards
what I would like to point out is that I am not going to give this in the hand of the person.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
How can I make use of this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. So the person behaves on behalf of this doesn't.
Well, as long as the person is filled with a conviction of personhood and personal autonomy, the state itself will not allow it to look behind at its own source. You see, either we are living in as the person is doing stuff, and now I kind of know that all this is behind me, and it's like the person wants to make use of the infinite self, okay, to fulfill its projections in a sense, right?
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yes. So then gradually, if you sit with this, because there'll be a tendency to say, okay, how can I make use of this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But this itself is not having a problem with how do I make use of the person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is. The person will continue to manifest somehow, but it's anchored in this deeper space. Gradually, there'll be a slow transitioning, if there is the desire, as you look more and say, but wait a second, when I sit back into my allness, into my full beingness, what I'm seeing is all is good. Not static, not stagnant, but all is good even in its dynamic unfolding. It's good. But the person tends to want to say, yeah, but it'd be better if I do this and it'd be better if I do that. And so you have the liberty to go into person mode and say, yeah, push this and try to push and that, and like this. So there is the subtle struggle. Now, you have been given what I call the darshan of seeing, which means that it's opened up in you that, whoa, you realize, and look, it's not shocking to you, is it? It's not like, you had to hand over property and no, just in your own being. Beingness wants nothing. It doesn't want a payment. It doesn't want, listen, give me some down payment for showing you how absolute you are. It is just here. Okay? So you are somehow, in a sense, it's as though you have a choice to sit more, to learn more, or to sit more in your totality, or to keep pushing because the person has a drive, to make use of everything. It even want to make use of the supreme consciousness to fulfill its personal projections also. That can be there. So sometimes we continue somehow to suffer and experience from the person because it's almost as though the person is challenging to say, listen, I've got the absolute behind me now, so I can do whatever I want. Whereas sometimes for myself, the person is more of a nuisance. It's not. It's not.
It's really quite a difficult space to engage much further in a podcast after that sort of exercise, because every time I'm trying to say something, I'm just like thinking the best way to finish this podcast would be in the pure silence of just being like you said, all is good. And it's funny because the need to know is, it's not coming from that space. The need to know is on, and there's obviously interests and passions, and I love to go out and play ball sports still, and so much reveals itself to me in a kind of quite spontaneous and inspired way when I'm doing that, just interesting things.
I see no trouble in that at all. I mean, because actually it's not like the pure consciousness has a problem with this dynamic creativity, you see, creates this. It's just that don't put it in the wrong hands, which is put in the hands of the ego. Exactly. It's not that either or. It's like it is there also. It supports the ego in a way, because the ego is itself in a self-infatuated posture of like, it's down to me, I do what I want this and so on. But gradually, as you sit more with this and you find, wait a second, the mind is telling me I need to do something and I need to do this and to do that. But you will get better at strengthening your discernment as to whether is it really so, is it really necessary, rather than to be being pulled by the mind field, like being pulled always to go into mind and trying to work at life through the mind. But more that you are life, you are already the consciousness, you see? And witnessing the way that it's unfolding, actually. And you have a part to do also in the dynamic life to somehow, but it become much more intuitive rather than, I would say, it's more intuitive, it's much more of a flow, it's more space in you. The life becomes much more like beingness than becoming, it's more like everything's happening in the beingness. Now, don't speak about this too early. Sit with it first.
Beautiful, yeah.
Conquer and be conquered in it, like this. Yeah. And just continue. You don't have to change your behavior. I don't ask you to change and become something. I don't want to tell anyone to become anything at all. Because what you fundamentally are is already here. So if there's a shift, it's like I say, the shift from person to presence. As you come more into presence and you begin to honor the presence, life becomes so much richer and broader in all its scope. No? Now, I'm not saying this as something for the person to hear, like, wow, yeah, life is going to get really much more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
So there's going to be a time of finding out, of just discovering, but just in a very more surrendered way, discovering all the antics of the personal existence will gradually yield to the wiser being, because the wiser being is very affectionate and loving and kind, wise, and always grounded. And you will know, actually, that within itself, it is limitless and imperishable. Unlike the person who is not stable, it's not a stable sense of being. It runs on the fuel of conditioning, but it really, the more you deepen in this, the more you see that actually you go more into like, it's like autopiloting. It's different. The person wants to be hands-on, wants to manage, wants to get all the praise and so, but here is your being, and it's quite a universal thing.
Wow. I always kind of like to say this, but it's funny how you can try and plan these things, but you turn up and these things just happen as they are meant to happen, and it's been fascinating. I certainly didn't know this was how this was going to pan out, but it's been phenomenal. It's lovely to have had that light shined on me brightly,
Yeah,
and asked me to be, to be truthful and honest in and a deeply present way for how I am now, and yeah, it's been powerful. It's something that I feel the willingness is in me to, and this will impact. I don't know how, but
yes.
I will continue to explore.
Is the beingness a technique?
No, in other words, that exploration is now, not something I'll do for 10 o'clock tonight when all my jobs are done. The exploration is now, and it's now, and it's now, and it's now.
Yes. I'm very pleased for the kind of quality of our talk, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
I really give interviews now because sometimes interviews are very mindy and da 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 da. But I actually felt from you that you're searching for some enough openness is there that we may actually get a chance to really look together. And I'm very pleased at your of your coming along and seeing, just seeing into your being and seeing from your beingness, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we'll finish there, but I think just there's something about listening to your story about yourself. There seems to have been something where I don't question. I have willingness. I don't sit on a sofa and think, oh, I better go and do that.
Yeah.
I have this, and this won't let me go. I can't let it go, and I'm veering off at times into a direction where I'm maybe turning the wheel, in a direction which is not helping. But the willingness is a beautiful thing to have it there.
Yes.
That I can't go back to the way it used to be.
Yeah. And beingness is not something in their back pocket,
Yeah. Amazing.
You understand? It's not something you have. It's what kind of is. You understand? And the more I would encourage that to take some time by yourself and sit, even if it's for 10 minutes, just to sit and clarify this again, keep clarifying for yourself like that. And if you want to, even off camera, offline, you can call and we can just look through something together if you want.
Amazing. Oh, wow. I'm slightly blown away by that. Thank you.
It's good.
Deeply. Thank you.
Yeah.
Incredible. That might be the longest recording we've done. That just
you can edit and do what you have to do.
Well, I wouldn't touch it, but Megan, that's up to you. Thank you. Wow, Muji, I'm so aware that you've given us
so much.
Gosh knows how much time, and of
No,
your
no,
energy
no,
as well.
no. We won't go out like that. Not about time.
No. I appreciate that,
No,
but
I appreciate what you say, but it's not. It really is more about just somehow exploring together in an authentic way. I don't put a clock on for something. I have a clock, clocks in a room and stuff, but it's not that.
I'm so glad you said that, because it's that's how it feels. That's very much how it feels.
Good.
Immense. Okay. Well, if it's okay, then I think Megan has details for you guys. I will get in contact so that I've exchanged things. I'll.
It's my heart's joy, man. Please, it's good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Love you, Johnny.